Hi, this is Ant from Speakerstack Music. In today's video, we're going to continue with creating an Ableton song from scratch. This is video 2 of what's going to be a series of videos, each focusing on a particular instrument. The idea being that at the end of the series of videos, you have your first fully created song in Ableton. So in today's video, we're going to be looking at the drums. We've opened up the Ableton project template that we started in the previous video. You'll see that we've already got the tracks and channels that we created set up down this left hand side, and we've already got one set up for the drum, so that's ready to kind of work with. The drums channel has been set up as a MIDI channel because it's going to be receiving digital information. We're going to be dropping in a virtual drum kit into that channel and then using that to create the drums within the song. We've also developed a loose song structure, so each of these levels that you click through here will relate to a certain section of the song, and we're working in Ableton session view as opposed to the arrangement view. If you remember, there's two different ways to work within Ableton, because the Ableton session view is a great way to start out with Ableton because it really gets you thinking about how you want to structure the song. You can just drop bits of loops of sound in, structure them, think about where you want them in the position in the structure of the song, in how the song runs as a sequence. But then you can also mix them up and chop them up a bit, review them, restructure them, get them in the right order and in the right kind of arrangement that you want them for that kind of full and final version of the song. So it's just an easy way to kind of work with Ableton when you first start kind of starting out with it. So we've got a drums channel set up. It's a MIDI channel. If you click on it, you'll see, if you remember at the bottom, there's an instrument section. You'll see there's no instrument in there at the moment. And this is because we need to put the instrument into the channel in order to start creating the drum kit and the sounds that we want coming out of it. So in order to do that, we need to go into the Ableton library. And if you remember from the previous video, there's a whole library of sounds that comes with Ableton. I use Ableton Suite, which has more kind of virtual synthesizers and sounds than Ableton Standard does. And I think I'd really recommend you consider buying that or upgrading to it if you're going to be using a lot of synthesizers and if you want a lot of electronica in your Ableton track, because it has that full library of virtual synthesizers, virtual instruments, instrument preset sounds. So these are sounds that they've already created for you out of those virtual instruments, audio effects, and clips and samples and loops and everything you're going to need to create music in Ableton. So it's a great way to kind of start out. It's worth the extra investment. So we're working in Ableton Suite. We've got the library open. Within the library, there's loads of different sections to this, and when we're looking at the drums, to make things as straightforward as we can to begin with, we're going to be using one of the Ableton drum kit presets. So these are a set of virtual kits that are fully formed drum kits that Ableton have already created for you, all set up with the right parts of the kit in there, so that you can just drop it into the instrument channel that you want it in, and it's just everything's in there, and you'll see what I mean in a second when I show you that view. There is another option to actually create the song, the kit from scratch, where you can actually select what kind of sound you want for each of the different parts of the drum kit, and then you can change the sound of that part or apply different effects to different parts of the kit, such as you might have more EQ on one part or more compression on another. So you can really start to build up the kind of drum kit that you want, and I recommend that, and we will have a look at that in a later video, but for the purposes of today we're going to use one of the preset kits because it's just a bit more straightforward and it's a bit more immediate. So if you're looking for that kind of hit of getting a song done as quickly as you can as that first song under your belt, then I'd go for one of the kit presets. There are other parts of the library which we will look at and use in other videos as we start to create the song. The sound section is a set of instrument sound presets that have been already created for you by Ableton. So if you click on this, you'll see there's all different instruments. A lot of these are virtual synthesizers, but you do have things like guitar sounds, obviously bass, synthesizer sounds. You've got a brass section. So a lot of synthesizer sounds and acoustic and analog instrument sounds in this bit. And if you click on each of the instruments, you get all the different sound presets. And you can actually preview and audition those by clicking on them. Just make sure that before you do that you've got the headphones level, which you can adjust down here, down a little bit, because if you've got headphones on, you're auditioning some of these sounds, they can come through and blast your ears a bit. So you can audition a lot of the sounds here, get to see what they sound like, preview them before you decide to drop them into the track. So that's the sound section. The instrument section is where the sounds have been created. So these are all your virtual instruments, which are templates. So they're set up ready for you to start to make your own instrument sounds out of them. And so you can really use these to emulate old school electronic sounds that you might be looking for and want to put in your particular track. You've got an audio effects section of the library. So these are effects that you want to apply to instruments. You can also use these as effects to apply to the mastering channel here when you come to master the track. So there are some mastering effects in here like EQ, compression, reverb. Those are ones I tend to use quite a lot. And you can also apply those to the individual instrument tracks as well. If you want a bit more reverb on your drums, or if you want to position your instrument in a certain frequency range with the equalization. But you've also got modulating effects in here like chorus, flange, and phaser. You've got delay and echo effects, and you've got some really strange effects that make the sound quite distorted and alien, like erosion, or like beat repeat, which chops up the sound. You've got filters, you've got virtual amplifiers at the top, you've got virtual effects racks, so you can actually create different guitar tones and sounds here. So there's all sorts of things for you to go at there. The MIDI effects section of the library, so these are for MIDI channels and tracks where you've actually played in a series of notes on your MIDI controller, or you've typed it in on your computer keyboard, or you've written it in. If you remember using these symbols up here, you can click on this and actually write in the notes, draw in the notes in. So you can actually then go into this section and change how the notes have been played back. You might want to change the scale. You might want to change the pitch in which they're being played back at. You might want to create a chord out of it. You might want to arpeggiate it. So actually create it into a sequence of notes that goes round and round and loops, which is really, really great for dance tracks, that kind of thing. You've got a section for plugins that you might have purchased and want to use within Ableton. And then you've got a section for clips and samples. So your clips are loops of audio sound that you might want to drop in. So the way I think about clips is it's actually like a virtual sample. So if I don't know if it's a hip hop track and you've got a sample that you want to loop round and drop into the track, then you'd use this. And these are set to a particular BPM here. But you also have a sample section, and this is where you want to build up the sound from scratch. So this is what you would use if you want to create a drum kit from scratch. You actually want to create the different parts. So you've got things like, scroll down, cymbals. You've got kick sections of the drum kit. If I just scroll down to the kick section, you've got hi-hats. Right down at the bottom, you've got your shakers and your snares. So these are all individual different sounds, so you can really form the kind of drum kit that you want to create using this section of the sound library. So that's all the sections of the Ableton library, but obviously for the purposes of today's video, we're looking at creating the drum section, the drum instrument. And we're going to be using one of the preset kits, as I've said. I'm going to use the Coral kit for this video because I do tend to use it quite a lot when I'm first starting out in a song, because it's really punchy, it really punches through in the mix, and I think it gives you that sense of rhythm that you need. So in order to drop it into the instrument, as we said, we've got the instrument channel, but there's nothing in it at the moment. So you literally just hover, click on the Coral kit, drag and drop it in. So it's very similar to how you would work in Windows in a computer. And you can see now that in that bottom section you've got the instrument there. So that tells you that there's now an instrument within that track. So I'm just going to close that down because we now have the instrument in there that we need. So you've got the instrument in there, you've got the channels set up. You can click on here, but if you play it, nothing's happening. And the reason for that is because you haven't told Ableton what notes or what beat you want it to play back. So you need to start to build up those loops of sound within Ableton to get it to start to play back those as loops to you. And you do that through building up these clips of sound. And we talked about the session view and building it up as building blocks. Well, your building blocks are essentially your clips of sound. So each of these squares that I'm clicking on is called a clip, and that relates to a loop of sound. And that will go round and round and round until you stop it or until you trigger the next part of the song or another clip or something to stop that and start something else. And that will tell Ableton to move on to the next loop of sound. So if you click on a clip, you'll see that you open up a new section to Ableton at the bottom. This is your clip view. If you remember in the bottom left hand corner, if you hover on that, it gives you a description. We're in the clip view now. I'm just going to close that down again. So we're in the clip view. And this tells you all the different parts of that instrument that you've dropped in. So we actually dropped in a full drum kit. So it's everything in here. So you've got the kick, the snare, the rim, the clap. You've got two versions of the snare. You've got hi-hats, you've got toms, you've got a shaker. And this is what we're going to be using to build up the beats within the loop, within the clip. So you can actually create a full clip of sound, and then you will just loop that, build that up to create the drum patterns that you want throughout the song. So just to start things off, we're going to use draw mode because I just find that easier with the drum kit. So we're just going to drop in some notes, some beats into this. Literally just using the draw mode, hover over that section of the beat and click to drop in a beat on that particular bit in the time signature. So you can see it's 4 beats here and it's a length of 1 bar. We've got the time signature set to 4/4 and this is one bar's length of music. So we're dropping in 4 beats within that bar, and we're going to start off with a nice 4 to the floor kick sound. So now that's dropped in, we can now play it and just see how that sounds. And that will keep looping around until you stop it. And you stop it with this little square button here, which actually stops all music that you've triggered or triggered as a loop or as a section of song in this bit when you're playing back the track. So that's good. That gives us a nice intro to the song as we're kicking off. So now we're going to move on to the next part of the song and just think about what we might want as a drum sound in the loop. Now, rather than actually creating another loop from scratch, you can actually copy and paste and then build on top. So if we click on that, click copy and then paste underneath, you'll see that you've dropped exactly the same loop down underneath, except this time we're going to add in a little bit of another part of the kit just to build up the drum sound. So again, making sure that the draw option is armed, we're going to drop in some snare on the 2nd and the 4th beats within that bar. Let's just see how that sounds. Great stuff. So you can see now the sound is just starting to build up a bit. It's all still quite simple and straightforward, but that's fine because we're just building structure at the moment. Great stuff. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is add in a build up section here. So we're going to insert another level to this, and I'm just going to rename that as build up, because I think what I'd like to do now is just copy and paste that down and just drop in another kick sound there. So do something like this. It's just funking it up a little bit there. Fantastic. Okay, yeah, so we're starting to build it up now. The next bit's the chorus. I think we're going to have something a little bit more, a bit of a fuller sound for that. So I think on this bit we can probably do with adding in something else. So we've got a kick drum in there, we've got some snare in there. So on top of that, I'm going to put in some hi-hats, but again I'm going to put them on the offbeat. Putting these on the offbeat just gives it a little bit more momentum. It kind of propels the song forward a little bit. So let's just see how that sounds. There we go. So it just gives it a bit more urgency and a bit more movement to the track. Fantastic. Okay, so now we're on to the chorus section, and I think with this part I'm just going to funk it up even more. So let's copy that, drop it down, and I think we're going to drop in another snare just before the third beat. Just see what effect that has. And I think we'll put in a open hi-hat for the start of every bar. Let's just see how that sounds. Great stuff. So it's just making it a little bit more funky and interesting for the chorus. We're just trying to create a bit of light and shade between the chorus sections and the verse sections and that build-up section. Stop that by clicking on that. So there we have it. We've done an intro, we've done a verse, we've done a build up, and we've done a chorus. So we've got the song structure laid out. So I'm going to copy those sections across into the corresponding sections later on in the song. So the verse section I'm going to copy across to the second verse, and the chorus I'm going to copy across to the second chorus, and then again to the final chorus. Probably going to start with have the ending as the start again, and I need to do something a little bit different for the middle eight. So let's just drop that into the middle eight. So there we have it. So what we've done there is we've mapped out the rhythm of the drum sounds, the drum kit, throughout the whole of the song, and we've got a different loop for each different section of the song. So we can actually play through that and start to see how that sounds. Brilliant, there we go. So obviously when we're building up the song, we're going to want these loops to loop round for a bit longer than I just played it there back to us, because I just wanted to play it back for the purposes of illustration. And the other thing you might have noticed is as I'm triggering each section of the song, it's not doing it immediately. It's waiting until the end of the bar before it then drops it in. So it's intuitively understanding the timing of the next bar and making sure that it drops in at that point in time rather than immediately when I click on it, which is great, which means you can actually just plan a little bit ahead and just think about clicking a little bit ahead before you come into that section of the song. Click on it and then it will automatically drop in. So that's quite a simple beat, but it just shows how you can start to build up a pattern. We've got different sections in each verses, in each part of the song. You stop them using the square button, and in the next video we're going to start to look at putting some percussion in just to fill out the song a little bit, and we'll probably just look at those sections and those loops and just perhaps embellish them a little bit more, think about ways you can really improve them, just make them a bit more of a fuller beat, because it's, as I said, it's quite simple as it currently stands. But that's the end of the video. Thank you very much for listening, watching. If you like the content, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.